Hello, I'm Todd Hall, President and CEO of TruLiant. As we mark our 70th anniversary in 2022, we reflect on a rich history that would not be possible without the support of the great city of Winston-Salem. From our humble beginnings in 1952 to the present, where we will soon serve over 300,000 members, hire our 1,000th employee, and exceed $4 billion in assets, to a future poised for continued growth, I am proud of the work we are doing together. TruLiant is grateful for and remains committed to Winston-Salem and all of Forsyth County.
Welcome to the Greater Conversations podcast. I'm Deetra Miller, the Director of Member Relations and Engagement at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. We'll use this platform to showcase our local businesses, our community, and their stories. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm super excited to have here with us today Mr. Hasani Mitchell. If you've heard that name, it's probably because he has been in so many wonderful positions throughout our county, helping economic development and business throughout it. So right now, Hasani's position is with Forsyth County Government. He is the Community and Economic Development Program Administrator. So Hasani, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deetra, for having me. I am honored to be on the podcast.
Well, thank you. I think I'm really excited because of all the different hats that you've worn over the years and how you've helped so many businesses and our economic development here in Forsyth County. So I want to share a little bit about what you do, but then I want you to dive in and expound on that a little more. Sure. So you currently identify and support opportunities to increase economic development initiatives, affordable housing, which is awesome, infrastructure development, and grant funding activities in Forsyth County. That's a lot. That is a lot. I tried to scale it down as best as I could. But yeah, my role at Forsyth County, we do a lot in community and economic development. My primary role is structuring our tax incentives when we recruit companies, manufacturers to come to the county to create jobs. We have a small business program that I oversee where we, give out grants and provide training for, microenterprises. Within our department, we do have some first-time home buyer and affordable housing programs where we try to assist folks with buying their home. And then we also assist with repairing homes. We want to keep our housing stock looking healthy. So we have a home repair, rehab program, urgent repairs for specific demographics. Nice.
Code enforcement. So, folks aren't keeping up their properties within the county. We kind of enforce our code enforcement. Workforce development. We're heavily involved in, making sure we've got a healthy workforce here. So, yeah, we do a lot. Like you said, I've held a lot of hats, but I think it's a testament to I'm not afraid to take a leap sometimes and go for things that interest me, and sometimes that may mean you may have to leave somewhere to go pursue something bigger. But yeah, I wear a lot of hats.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned tax incentives, and that's a big deal here in Forsyth County because at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., our economic development team works hand in hand with you guys to recruit, if you will, or attract businesses to Forsyth County. Talk a little bit about how tax incentives work for the audience that's listening that don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And great shout out to Greater Winston. They are the county's primary economic development, our primary economic development partner, Laura Lee, Ellis Kiefer, who's on your team. We work well with them. But as far as tax incentives, the easiest way I can explain it is we want companies to come to the county and to the city. We want those companies to create jobs. We want them to pay people our average wage or not, if not more. So we want companies to come here, lay the foundation, and grow. So in order for us to kind of sweeten the deal for them to come, we have to offer them something, right? And so a lot of people think tax incentives are the county or the city giving money away, but essentially it's like a refund. Essentially it's like a grant. And so the company's going to come, they're going to either build a factory or they may lease that factory or that plant. They're going to invest a lot of money into buying equipment for that factory or that plant or that business. They're going to, invest in real estate. And so the company's bringing a lot of investment when they come here. They're going to pay taxes. They're going to pay taxes to the city. They're going to pay taxes to the county. And so what we do is when we're approached, when Greater Winston does that great job with reeling them in, and presenting the county and the city as a great place for them to locate, what we do is we take a look at their investment. How much are they bringing to the county in equipment, in real estate? And so what we do is we say, okay, over a certain period of time, if you invest a certain amount of money here, if you invest a certain amount of jobs and capital, what we do, they're going to pay their taxes. And so if they meet those goals with the investments that they make, we reimburse them up to 50% of the taxes that they already paid. Think of it this way. If you move somewhere and you pay property taxes, if you buy a house, right, you're going to pay property taxes on that house. But in order to get people to come and buy a house, you need to kind of offer them something, right? And so they're already going to pay their taxes. So as an incentive, we want to kind of give them those funds back. And so we kind of look at it as a grant.
I love that.
A reimbursable grant, so to speak.
I love that. Yeah. Now, I love the analogy you used with housing. So that's a nice little segue to talk about affordable housing here in Forsyth County. How are you working towards that goal to create more affordable housing and to keep up with what we already have to make sure that things are up to code, as you mentioned earlier?
That's a great question. I think for the listeners and for the folks that kind of know, the county's growing. There's a lot of folks that are moving into the county, and that causes a stress on the housing market. People want to live here, and so we have to figure out ways on where they're going to live. And so what we do at Forsyth County is we got a great staffer. I want to shout out Bianca Green, who oversees our first-time home buyer program, and our director, Kyle Haney. He does a great job as well. But Forsyth County is really stretched right now with our housing stock. And so there's thousands of homes that we need to build quickly. And so what we do at the county is our focus is really low to moderate income individuals who need housing. Everybody doesn't make six figures. Everybody can't afford a $400,000 home, a $500,000 home. I mean, that's what houses cost now. Maybe 250, maybe the baseline, 300,000. That may be the baseline. But what we do is we really want to support those folks who may not be your traditional lender. Your traditional borrower. They may not be your traditional buyer. And they may come with some scars, on their credit report. They may have some financial issues. So we've got some programs that are specifically tailored to really give people that financial education, help them save, because we know down payments, that's a big part of buying a home. You need money to buy a home. And so we want to help folks get the financial literacy to be able to save that money, clean up their credit, understand what it's going to take to maintain a home. And so we've got specific programs. We've got great partners. We are well connected with a lot of banks, a lot of realtors to really package these deals to help low to moderate income individuals here in the county. The challenge is, where do we find the houses? Where do we find, affordable housing, whether it's builders? We want to have those relationships with the builders. We want to have those relationships with the banks and the realtors to be able to present people that may not be ready now. We can get them ready in a couple of years. We can put them through some training, get their budgets together, and then provide them with some income or some funds to make that purchase. And so our focus is really helping those who need the help. And so as we grow, as we recruit those companies to come here, people are going to need somewhere to live. Yes. As the county continues to grow, as we continue to expand, cities, they don't want to admit it, but everybody's competing against each other. We've got our eyes on Greensboro, we've got our eyes on Durham. And so, we want to be competitive with our salaries. We want to be competitive with our jobs, but we also want to have somewhere for people to live, because if you don't have anywhere to live, that's a stressor. I think it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need somewhere to live. And you need to be able to pay for it, but you need to have a job that's going to pay you enough to pay your mortgage or to pay your rent. And so those are the big issues that we're tackling.
Okay. And I love the fact that you're educating the low to moderate income potential homeowner as well. It's not just a program where, fill out an application, here's some money, go. You need to understand what it takes to actually not only get into your home, but to keep it and maintain it, which is really awesome. Something else that you do is help businesses that are already existing in Forsyth County, especially those small businesses or potential businesses launch. Talk a little bit about this outstanding program that you have. I believe you got some ARPA funding that helped with this. It's the Microenterprise IDA. Is that right? Yeah,
that's right. So I think everybody knows Forsyth County, we've billed ourselves as a great place to start your business. We've kind of anchored our flag over the last several years as a place to come and grow your business. And so Forsyth County, we're a player in that as well. We like to think we're part of the ecosystem too. And so we have what's called our Microenterprise IDA Program, and that acronym stands for Individual Development Account Program. And so it's tailored towards small businesses, very small micro businesses. And a lot of times these businesses are low to moderate income. They have low to moderate income owners. And so we do vet the business to make sure that they have to meet a certain income requirement, or they can't exceed the area median income. And so with this program, we did get a huge investment from the American Rescue, the ARPA, the American Rescue Plan. Our county commissioners voted. And so we received $1 million through ARPA to really fund this program over the next several years. And really the premise of it is we have partnered with Experiment in Self-Reliance, or ESR, SG Atkins CDC, the Winston-Salem Foundation. They're also a partner. Tate Consulting, they provide some success coaching. And so we find micro-enterprise small businesses here in the county. You have to be a business that has been in business for at least a year. And it's a myriad of businesses. You can be a caterer, you can be a tech company, you can be really any type of business, right? But we want you to have some traction. And based upon your household size, based upon the income, we can qualify you to get into this program. And what we do is we provide you financial literacy education through Experiment in Self-Reliance. We work on people's budgets, teach them about credit, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of folks jump out and start a business and they don't know anything about separating their business from their personal funds. They don't know about having, a business credit, personal credit. And then on the entrepreneurship side, we want to teach them about basic entrepreneurial skills, marketing, bookkeeping, how to make a pitch, basic things like that. Because what we find is there's a lot of folks, particularly small businesses, very, very small, maybe one or two people. They're very good at what they do as far as starting that business. They know everything about, being a nail tech. They know how to do nails, but they may not know anything about books. Right. They may not know anything about finances. And they just know, somebody's paying me on my app and I'm good, but how do you reconcile that? What about when it's time to pay your taxes? So we teach them those basic things. We have a customized curriculum that takes about 10 to 11 months for them to complete. They go to classes in the evening once a month. Wow. And once a month, there's a different topic every single month. But the caveat of this program is we're asking them to set up a special savings account through Experiment in Self-Reliance, and they put money in that account every single month. And so when they reach a savings goal of either $2,000 up to $4,000, we take those ARPA funds and we match what they've put in that savings account after a year. So we match it times 4. So if you save $2,000, we're going to grant you $8,000.
Oh, wow.
And so you can take that $10,000, you combine it, you can take that $10,000 at the end of the program once you've done your financial training, once you've done your entrepreneurial training, and you saved your money every month, you've made deposits into that bank account. We then want you to take that money and then go buy an asset for your business, because you should by that time you should have enough training and skills to really take those funds and then insert them into your business and then scale your business up a little bit. And we look at this as something that nobody's really doing it the way that we're doing it in the county. There's a lot of grant programs. I know Greater Winston has the minority grant, which is a great program. During COVID, there was a lot of money floating around, for small businesses. But some things are starting to quiet down a little bit. But we still want to be a support for the small businesses, but particularly micro, very, very, very small businesses. Because they need help too. They want to grow. They want to scale, to be these big companies, but they may not have the training. They may not have the education, but particularly they don't have the capital to grow. Right. And so we're heavy on minority businesses in this program. We're heavy on woman-owned businesses in this program. It's open to everybody. Any demographic can apply. But what we find is that women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses are the most impacted when needing capital, when needing training and just education. And so, we're opening up applications this fall. We've got a great cohort that we've put out last month, actually, or in the month of June. So we've got a great cohort, but we're going to be running this program over the next 3 years.
That's awesome.
And so we really want to get the $1 million spent. We really want to exhaust those funds.
This is such a unique program. So everyone listening, if they're interested in learning more about that program, what do they need to do?
Sure. So if you want to learn more about the Forsyth County Microenterprise IDA Program, you can visit the Forsyth County website, and you can visit our website in Community and Economic Development. You can just search entrepreneurship and small business. When you go to the county website, just search entrepreneurship and small business. It's going to take you straight to the Microenterprise IDA website. And there you'll find all the program requirements. You can take a look at some of the businesses that we funded in the past. We funded support systems of Forsyth County, Lean Back Soul Food. We've got a little bit of everybody, and they're doing great. But we'll be taking applications again in the fall for our 2024 cohort. We've got space to really support 10 to 20 businesses during each cohort. So wow. If you're a small business, and like I said, it is based upon your income, so you can't exceed the area median income for your household. But yeah, it's a great program.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
You are super passionate about business. You're super passionate about economic development. Let's go back a little bit and talk about your background. How did you get into all of this? Like, where did you go to school? What was your major?
Yeah.
And just all the things.
Wow. I'm going to try to make it quick. Well, so I'm a Winston-Salem native, born and raised here in Winston, grew up on the South Side.
Are you a Mustang?
No, I'm not a Mustang. I am a Glen Bobcat. Yeah, I'm a Glen Bobcat, class of 2000. So yeah, we went through the whole Y2K thing, back then when I was a teenager. But graduated from Glen. Mom and dad, just hard workers. They always pushed, going to college. My mom, she really didn't go to college. My dad has a 10th grade education. Wow. Blue collar. And so I think growing up, we would always watch like the Cosby Show, and we would always watch, Family Matters, and we would see these families, and it was always ingrained in us, go to school, get an education. Although, there was nobody around us that was going to school. There was nobody around me that went to college other than me and my sisters, and we were all the same age. So we didn't know, we didn't know what it took to get a degree. We don't have doctors and lawyers in our family. We're blue collar. And so my mom just pushed us, go to college, so went to Glen, graduated, went to A&T for 1 year, partied my way out of there. Yeah. And I came back home, and really at 18, 19, I was just working. I worked at a call center. I cleaned toilets at Haynes Brands, the corporate offices off Haynes Mill Road. I worked as a janitor, so I've done it all. I fried chicken at KFC. I've done it all. And so I was working at Blue Cross and Blue Shield in customer service, and I'll never forget a gentleman by the name of Christopher East. He was my supervisor. He saw something in me, and he gave me kind of like a little team lead role at the call center. I was selling Medicare and Medicaid and doing federal insurance programs for folks that called in, asking about their insurance. And I was really good at it. Didn't have a degree. I'm just working, And so he saw something in me, and he gave me like a little leadership role at the call center, And so I took that and just ran with it. And before you know it, I'm one of the top agents at the call center,
Wow.
And so I outgrew it, to be honest with you. I outgrew it. And so I said, wow, I think I've learned all I need to know here. I'm good on insurance. I'm good on health insurance. I know all about it. So it's time for me to level up. And so I went to Forsyth Tech and got a 2-year degree in business, right? Because I knew if I know business, I felt like if I know business, I'll always be able to get a job. That was just my mindset. Like, if I know just the basics in business, somebody's going to hire me, or I can start my own business, And so I went to Forsyth Tech, got a 2-year degree in business while I was working at the call center, right? So I saw a job at Forsyth Tech, right? Working in economic and workforce development.
Here we go. Okay.
So, you know what? I shot my shot. I said, I'm going to apply for this job. I'm tired of working in the call center, 100 calls a day, people complaining about their insurance. I'm not built for this. And so I applied. And I got the job. I got the job working in economic and workforce development at Forsyth Tech. Back then, it was called economic and workforce development. And I was an auditor. And so they had me, it was like a locker room. It was an old locker room that they converted into some offices on Bolton Street, the campus on Bolton Street. And so I would audit the workforce development classes at Forsyth Tech. And I would also build the courses in the system.
Wow.
And I would track, there's a whole system behind, having people sit in seats at community colleges. You get paid per body in the seat. And so that's really how community college works. There's certain, the college collects revenue based upon people that register for the classes. And so you want to get bodies in the seat. You want to get them the training. So that's where I first learned about customized training, CRT, GED programs, CNA programs, electrical linemen. I built all those classes, audited those classes. I got to meet a lot of professors, but that's when I first started to engage with real professionals. Alan Murdoch, Alan Younger, Jennifer Coulomb. This is where I met these people, and I'm back in a hole. Just auditing classes and building the courses in the system. But this is when I first started to meet these professionals and get an understanding of workforce development and economic development. Fast track it. Went back to school. Went to Winston-Salem State. Got my undergrad in sociology. And then I went and got my MBA from Winston-Salem State.
Wow.
But while I was working at Forsyth Tech, I kind of mastered how to audit courses for workforce development. I mastered how to build the classes and know the curriculum, And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I saw a job at the city of Winston-Salem, and it was in business inclusion and advancement, or really economic development at the city of Winston-Salem. And so I took my 2-year business degree. And I had just gotten my degree from Winston-Salem State. And by this time, like I said, I'm like 30, And so I got the job at the city, working in economic development. And really the time that I spent at Forsyth Tech helped me, to land that job. And so I got the job at the city. And this was really my first time being exposed to local government and how that worked. I was working in the Minority and Women's Business Enterprise Program. Mm-hmm. And so my job was to make sure that the capital projects that the city does, that there were Black and brown contractors working on those projects and that they were getting paid. If anybody knows about MWBE, Minority Women Business Enterprise, and local government, there's a certain percentage that needs to be allocated to black contractors. And so my job was just to make sure that the black contractors on these projects for the city were getting paid and that they were treated fairly. But in that role, I would hear, shout out to Evan Raleigh, who was my director at the time. He's now the assistant city manager for the city of Raleigh. And so I would sit outside of his office. I had a cubicle. And my cubicle was right outside of Evan's office. And I would hear him in there making these deals, these tax incentive deals, which is the same job I do now, right? Okay. I would hear him in there making these deals, and I would glean from him. And he didn't know it. I was just sitting in my cubicle, but I picked up so much, commissioners and city council members and government officials. Everybody would come through our office, because he was a man. Evan was a man, and I worked with Ken Millett, who now runs that office. And there was a little bit of everybody that would come in our office, right? And at the time, I'm just ducked off in my cubicle, just nose down, helping the black contractors get paid. But I was picking up so much. Mm-hmm. It was coming so fast, and I did a lot of good work for the city, met a lot of great people at the city. But that was really my exposure to local government. And so did that for 2 years. And then I had an opportunity to start and launch the Access Center, which was a venture between, at the time, Venture Cafe and Piedmont Business Capital. Yes. Piedmont Business Capital is a CDFI. It's a community development financial institution in Greensboro. Yes. And so they had an idea to launch this new space in Bailey Power Plant, which was to help minority and women contractors, supplier diversity, and then also the CDFI would help with funding these black and brown businesses. And so they needed a community manager. And so I took the experience that I had at Forsyth Tech, working in workforce and economic development. I took that experience that I had at the city. By that time, I had a little social capital. I knew some people, my resume was looking a little tight, it was looking good. And so I took the job. I applied for it. I took the job, and we launched the Access Center in Bailey Power Plant. And we did some good work. For a couple of years. We helped finance some businesses, helped find contracts for businesses, large scale contracts, government contracts, corporate contracts. So we were able to plug a lot of businesses into a lot of opportunities here locally. But during that role, I really learned about how to just start something from scratch. When I got hired, we just had a blank office. There was no furniture. There was no computers. Oh, wow. We didn't have any processes. They hired me to really get it going, okay. And so we got it going. Shout out to Wilson Lester. Yes. He's a great guy. If anybody knows Wilson, he's one of the founders of Partners in Equity. Mm-hmm. There's a private equity firm, and they're doing great work nationally. And so he's my guy. I really gleaned from Wilson, and I learned that's when I learned how to be a boss. Okay. I took on this boss mentality working in that role, really learning finance, learning how to navigate, how to write grants, how to find my own funding, how to run my own programs. That's when I picked up that skill. And so everything that I've done throughout my career, it's like I was putting stuff in my tool belt, mm-hmm. and I was learning on the fly. I had my MBA because I went back to Winston-Salem State, got my MBA during that whole process. But everything that I've learned has kind of come on the fly. I learned it as I went, and it happened quickly, And so I saw I worked at the Access Center for a couple of years. COVID hit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, COVID hit. And so that really impacted everybody. I think the whole city shut down. Mm-hmm. And so we had to make we had to pivot at the Access Center, and we made some strategic changes and some leadership changes. So I stepped away from that role. Wilson took it over. And I went back to the city. I went back to the city of Winston-Salem, working in community development. And I managed the Cleveland Avenue Choice Neighborhoods project for the city. That's a $30 million redevelopment project in the northeast part of the city. And so my job when I went back to the city was to oversee the critical community improvements that need to happen in that particular neighborhood. And so in that role, I'm out in the community. I'm in Cleveland Avenue Homes. I'm on Liberty Street. I'm on 14th Street, engaging with the community, trying to get an understanding of what do we need to put in this community to really improve it. Crime is high. Housing is distressed. We need businesses. We need infrastructure. We need some economic development over here. We have some funds to do it. But what do we need to put over here? What do we need to do to improve the neighborhood? And so I was really managing that community engagement process to really develop that plan. And so I did that at the city for a year. And that's when I got exposed to housing and affordable housing. Okay. And so I had the business background. I had the supplier diversity background. I had the workforce development background. And so when I went back to the city, I learned a lot more about housing. Working on that project. And so I put that in my tool belt, and it was just a blessing to be able to do that. And so I did that for a year, and I had opportunity. I saw an opportunity with the county to work in my current role in community and economic development as the program administrator. And it was just a natural fit. I had met Kyle Haney through the course of just, being in Winston. We bumped into each other a couple times, and I saw the job. I applied, and I got the job. I felt like there was nobody else qualified to do this job but me.
It was designed for you.
Yeah, it was designed for me because I've done a lot of things. I have a scope of the corporate guy, but also the blue collar guy. Yes. I've cleaned toilets for a living, and I've been in boardrooms for a living, so I can relate to anybody. I've done it all, and so working in a role like this, where you're helping folks with their business, you're helping companies come here and grow. You're helping, in our department, we have the housing, and a lot of what we do is tailored towards low income individuals. You kind of have to know the city. You've got to know the players, but you've got to also know the history of the city. And that all plays in the county. That all plays into how we move and the decisions that we make. And so I brought a diverse skill set to this role. And that's how I came to this role. I mean, it was one of those things. I didn't set out to work in community development. I didn't set out to work in economic development. It's one of those things where you don't go to school to work in community and economic development. I mean, there are economic developers. There's a certification you can get that says, hey, I'm an economic developer. You can go take a test and call yourself an economic developer. But
anybody can be anything if they take the test.
If they take the test, if they take the test, you can be anything. But when I went to A&T straight out of high school, I wanted to be an architect. I can draw very well, and so I always liked art, but math was never my strong point. And so a lot of the now everything's on the computer, so you can design stuff and not even know what you're doing. But yeah, I never set out to say, hey, I'm going to work in economic development. I'm going to help Greater Winston, recruit and attract and retain these companies that come here. I never set out to do that, but I always knew I wanted to help people. And I always knew I had a gift of being able to walk into a room and relate to anybody that's in that room. Yes. Because of my background and because of my skill set. And so that really led me to work in this role, just by having a varied background and a myriad of skills and talents. And I think anytime you're working with community, you got to know the community. You have to get out of your office. You got to get out of your perch up high and come down to where the people are. And I think I've kind of garnered that respect because I know the city, I know the community, and I can relate. I'm just an average guy. Like I said, my dad has a 10th grade education, but he worked hard. And so that was ingrained in me to really respect everybody, respect everybody's perspective. And so that helped me along the way, and I've been able to have some great mentors. Shout out to Alan Younger. Mm-hmm. He was a great mentor. When I first started working at Forsyth Tech, Wilson Lester, my supervisor at Blue Cross and Blue Shield, all of these people they put something in me that I really didn't see in myself. Because I could have still been that guy cleaning toilets at Hanes Brands, but now I'm taking meetings with the same people at Hanes Brands. And so it's life can come back full circle, but you really have to be open and stay locked in to what comes your way.
You know what? That's a beautiful way to wrap up this podcast. Yeah. I love it. I loved hearing your story. I love everything that you do, Hasani. And I can sit here and talk to you for like another hour. So I'll definitely have to invite you back another time so we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for everyone listening, will you share how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me at Forsyth County. My email, like I said, I get emails from everybody. And so you can reach me at MITCHEHI at Forsyth.cc. Like I said, I work for the government, so I'm online, so you can find me. But also the Office of Community and Economic Development at Forsyth County. There you'll find all of the programs and the services that we offer, from housing to workforce development. Shout out Andrea Sheets with our office. She's doing a great job. But our housing, workforce development, first-time home buyer programs, our code enforcement, all of that, we have a hand in Forsyth County Community and Economic Development, so you can find us there.
That's awesome. Hasani, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Deetra. And I'd like to say Deetra's doing a great job. Our minority, the Greater Winston MBE grant program, she's done a great job in taking that and just taking it to a next level and administering it. And so shout out to you, Deetra. You're doing good too.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I appreciate that. All right. For everyone listening, until next time. We know you enjoyed this podcast today, so join us for the next episode of Greater Conversations. By the way, you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to visit our website at winstonsalem.com. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our sponsors, distributors, or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. or your toast.